spikes on those tires?
I'm sorry, Bruce, I missed that. What did you say that, John?
No, I was asking John if he had spikes on his tires.
Oh,
I do on my fat tire bike. Yes.
Oh, no kidding. That's
cool.
cool.
Makes a world of difference.
I bet. I bet.
John, what's your normal trek or route around town?
Well, in the winter, I just ride the horse trails in Pratt Wayne.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, there's a ton of stuff back there. It's the largest forest preserve in DuPage County at about 3,400 acres, and I've probably been on most of them. Yeah, there's horse jumps back there. There's a lot going on back there.
I just got a new knee, guys. My right knee was hacked out by Dr. Bonenkamp up at Ortho, Illinois.
Wow.
I did it in November. I wanted to write a blog about it. I was surprised at how long it's going to take for it to feel, good. The doc finally told me 6 months minimum before you'll feel like that's your normal leg. So
yeah. Bruce, is that your first replacement?
Oh, gentlemen, I think we're going to get started.
it is the first. Yes, sir. First one.
Sorry to interrupt you. I think we were also broadcasting too. But at any rate, I'd like to welcome everyone to the Bike and Run Plan Advisory Committee for January the 6th, 2022. The time is now approximately 3 p.m. Ms. Stone, would you please call the roll call, please?
We're actually going to let Devin do it.
Oh, my apologies, sir. You know what? I think I did that to you last time. Sorry.
Aaron Renke,
Present.
Gary Crawl,
Present.
Bruce Hendricks,
Present.
Dan Palmer.
Here.
John Gates.
Present.
Right. So the gang's all here. I'll entertain a motion to approve the September 23rd, 2021 meeting minutes.
Second that motion.
I second it.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
No.
I've reviewed them. They seem in perfect order as usual. Thank you, sir. Would you please call the roll then?
Barry Crawl,
Here.
Bruce Hendricks,
Here.
Dan Palmer,
Yes.
John Gates,
Yes.
Aaron Renke.
Yes. So the ayes have it, and the minutes of the September 23rd, 2021 meeting are approved. Item number 3, public comment. Do we have anyone, there's clearly no one in the room that would make public comment, but how about online?
Martin McMahon would like to talk.
Hi there. Thank you for the for giving me a chance to speak. Real quick, I sent this in online also. I didn't know if you'd get it on time, but Route 59 between Schick Road and Stearns Road is in need of a bike trail, and it has been discussed among this committee, the Bartlett Village Board meetings, our local state reps and state senators, our local elected officials, and over 2,000 local residents signed a petition for this. Excuse me. State Senator Seth Lewis told us at one meeting that the state had just passed a new law to help fund these types of projects, and that our state right of ways. And I'm hoping that this much needed project has not been put on the back burner by this committee. Is there something that can be done to get this project moving? Again, that's Route 59 bike trail between Schick Road and Stearns Road. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we're all in favor of that happening. And I think where we left it was that we were waiting for some roadway improvements, and we were going to ask the state at that time. Do I have that correct?
Correct. If IDOT does a project in that area, they will work on it. The village does not have authority to work on a project if it would be on the private property, because it would be outside the village's corporate limits. So staff had previously come up with an alternative where it would go through the bike path in Ridings East and then connect to the roadway in, by Carriage Way. And I believe Martin at that time was not in favor of having it go through that, having it on street in that neighborhood. So it's unfortunately jurisdictionally, the village could not be the lead agency on it because it's not within our boundaries.
Thank you
Do I
very
get a
much. But
chance?
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, I mean, we're definitely on board with that. If there's ever an opportunity that any of us sees, we're going to make that happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Would that path be on the north side or south side of the road of 59?
It would be on the east side of 59.
That's what I meant. I'm sorry, east and west. Yeah, east side of 59. Yeah.
So I'm sorry, Martin,
Oh, John, you're muted.
sorry about that. Hey, Martin, so what were you saying that there's been talk of legislation about doing this or helping with this? You said Seth Lewis was taking this on, or?
Yes, Seth Lewis made it clear that a new law had just been passed that if Bartlett took on the project, that the state would pay for it because it's on their right of way. And I think that's something that needs to be investigated. It is not like you said, like it was just stated, that if IDOT decides to do a project there, that then they'll do. That's always been the law. But the new law that just passed is if you guys want to do a project on that state right of way, that the state will pay for it. And I think that's something that this is the time right now to pursue that.
Yeah, okay. So we'll follow up with the representative's office and find out just exactly what's happened. I mean, I remember Seth talking about, because I was in many of those meetings too, and I remember Seth talking about some new legislation, and I just don't recall enough of it, but I don't know that it's going to get us there. But let's take a look, because who knows what they did in Springfield? Maybe for once something helpful for the village of Bartlett. It'd be wonderful.
Yeah, and even though it's not the Bartlett right away, if they need Bartlett to, I guess, project it or lead it, but it'll be funded elsewhere. I mean, are we capable of doing that? I guess Aaron or Christy? And maybe we're getting ourselves here, but
My understanding before was that the village cannot be the lead agency for something that is not going to be within our boundaries. So if the development to the east were to come into the village, at that point, we would be able to, at that point, we'd actually have the developer put in the bike path at their expense.
well, there's
So
no.
unless something changed with the funding, how they do the funding and who can be the lead agency, the village would not be able to lead that up.
Okay, well, there's no developer there because it's between Schick and Stearns. That's all developed already, right?
This is south of Gulfstream, from the Gulfstream south to Schick Road.
Okay, but what Martin's talking about is going all the way to Stearns, though, north to Stearns, right?
Yes.
Right, so there's actually two issues. There's the extraterritorial jurisdiction of the village of Bartlett, which is going to be applicable to that area south of Gulfstream. But then there's the other issue of us doing work in the right of way, because there's not enough land outside of the right of way for us to do it that way.
Correct.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm getting a little bit of feedback on the audio, but at any rate, yeah. So sum and substance, we have looked at this. We'll look at this again. I think it's important for us to check that legislation, and if we can push it, absolutely. I've discussed it at the village board level. We passed a resolution to IDOT. It's been delivered to IDOT saying, if you folks do a project, we really want this to happen, which is what IDOT and the state legislators have told us. That's our very first step is letting the state officially know for whatever that value is, that we want this to happen. So I feel like we're in a good position, but let's follow up on the legislation. And Chief Palmer?
Christie, on that same topic, has there been any interest shown whatsoever by anybody that owns any land south of that subdivision about maybe developing it? I mean, even an inkling?
I actually spoke to someone probably within the past 6 months that has been interested. They're starting to look at marketing that property for residential development. And I've let them know that if that does happen, a bike path connection would be required.
Well, that's good news. With all the need for housing that I keep reading about and hearing about, I would think builders would be out there building.
It's a good opportunity.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you, everyone. So is there anyone else online for public comment?
If anyone else would like to speak at this point, please raise your hand via Zoom. No one else has raised their hand. We did receive an email that from a resident. I don't know who we're hearing.
If we could all remember to mute ourselves when we're not speaking, just so we kind of minimize that cross or that feedback, I'd appreciate it.
So we did receive an email today that's, I will read it into the record. I would like to respectfully bring to your attention the need for a relatively simple multi-use path connection located in the southwest quadrant of West Bartlett Road at Naperville/Munger Road. As you can see from the attachment, there is an existing multi-use path located at this quadrant that doesn't connect to a crosswalk across the south leg of the intersection. At this location, pedestrian push buttons and countdown pedestrian signal heads hardware already exist. The only thing missing is a short section of new path from the curb to the existing path, a curb cut and crosswalk striping, all within the existing right-of-way. These improvements could possibly even be made by the village's maintenance staff. This is somewhat of a safety concern since there are pedestrian push buttons and pedestrian countdown signals, but no painted crosswalk or curb cut. Bike riders must traverse this leg of the intersection without a painted crosswalk and must dismount their bikes in order to get over the concrete barrier curb. A year or two ago, village staff sent this request to Cook County, but no improvements have occurred to date. Since Cook County likely will not make these improvements, if you haven't already, please consider adding this simple but important connection to the village's 2022 construction program. Thank you. Steve Koffenbarger, 805 Foster Avenue. So we received that earlier today, or yesterday. We've reminded Cook County about this project. They're going to be doing some resurfacing in the area, and we're trying to, we've sent an email out reminding them to put in the crosswalk and do the pedestrian timing signalization. We have also reached out to Elmhurst Chicago Stone, who has agreed to do the bike path connection from the curb to the existing path. So just want to let you know we have communicated with the necessary agencies in response to that email.
No.
Yeah, the timing is always an issue when you're dealing with different jurisdictions and developers. Much like
Munger ours?
What?
West Bartlett is county. Is Munger ours?
That is, I think, in DuPage County, it's DuPage. I think up there, it's ours.
It's ours, okay.
Yeah.
Right, because at that point, it becomes Naperville North, and that's...
Naperville North is Cook County. I don't know if that little segment is...
Okay.
I'm not remembering. I should.
Right.
Yeah. But we would need Cook County to make that connection.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, where's that connection? What part of the road is it on? Is it right by the intersection there?
Can you say that again, John?
So what's the connection that's missing there?
So by Liberty Elementary School,
Yep. Yeah. Okay.
there isn't a crosswalk on the south leg. So there's pedestrian signals, and then the bike path on the west side doesn't go all the way to the curb line.
Gotcha.
It stops significantly short of the intersection.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. So, yeah, that's obviously needed. But then that path also stops about halfway going north, about halfway to the railroad track. It stops, right?
Correct. And grassland has come back in for final subdivision, so we're hoping to get that approved sometime this spring, and then the rest of that path would connect up to the railroad tracks as part of the construction of that subdivision.
Yep, and that's that whole path we talked about that's going to maybe even go under 59, that whole subdivision, right?
Correct.
Is that still in scope, that under the 59 part?
That's still proposed. It's something that is dependent on getting some grant funding, but it
Okay.
is something that we're looking at, yes.
Gotcha, okay.
All right, thank you. And if we connected Mr. Coffenbarger with Cook County?
We did let him know that we've contacted them,
Okay.
so.
Because I have found sitting on the board that sometimes people come to us with quote-unquote Cook County issues, and they keep coming to us, and our answer is always, you need to contact Cook County, but they don't contact Cook County, and anything we can do to connect them with the right person or persons, I think that's beneficial.
Okay.
And then Cook County's not just hearing it from us, they're hearing it from a resident.
I can do that as well.
And hopefully they're just as responsive as the village of Bartlett is.
Yes.
I have the utmost confidence that they would be. All right, on old business, new business. First up, DuPage Forest Preserve District update. We have anybody here from the DuPage Forest Preserve?
Looks like Jessica just unmuted herself.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me? Jessica Ortega, with the Forest Preserve District.
Absolutely. Hello, welcome.
Okay, thank
Yes.
you. Great, so I just had a quick update for the North Central DuPage Regional Trail. We've been updating you guys about this project for a while now. It's on the west side of Munger Road, connecting Forest Preserve Drive to the Prairie Path. So it is officially on the January 21st, 22 letting. So it did get, we had a little hiccup, it got pushed back to the January letting, but that's not really gonna delay our start date. So good news. Construction will likely start around May 1st. The alignment has already been staked and mowed, and that's to keep the vegetation down to protect the rusty bumblebees. And so, yeah, looking forward to construction starting in May. We're expecting substantial completion in late fall or winter 2022, and then come back and do some restoration work of the vegetation in spring of 2023. Any questions about that or any other forest preserve items?
Very good.
Any
That'll make a big impact in that area.
Mhm. There are dozens, if not more, people are waiting for this one. There's people waiting for this one. It's yeah. Thank you. It's can't wait.
Very good.
Hey, has there been any progress on completing the limestone path around, what is it, lakes over by Pratt, by the by the campgrounds and all that?
Yeah, we were notified about the grant, and I think I'd have to check to be sure, but I think there was some issue with the funds being released. So I would have to check and see if those in fact were released. We were notified that, it was pending. We got the nod, but in terms of actually funds being released and us able to start work, I'm not exactly sure on that. I'd have to follow up.
Gotcha. Okay. That section floods a lot right now, and obviously you're aware of that, right?
Yes.
That'll be a nice completion of that loop.
Any other questions? Ms. Ortega, thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Next item is the Park District update.
Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. Kelly O'Brien with the Park District. Really at this time, we have no new update to share with anything on the Park District side. So unless anybody had any questions for us, we have nothing to share at this time.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any questions for the Park District? All right, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Next item, grant updates.
Tyler is not here today. They're working on budgeting, but he did submit a couple memos for you guys regarding the grant updates and the projects. Do you have any specific questions on those? I will do my best to answer them.
Seemed pretty straightforward to me. Is there any questions from the committee?
Christie, I was sort of reading through all the notes and I thought that the new bike racks, is that part of a funding thing that we get by the train station now?
Yes. According to Tyler, the bike shelter's been installed and as have 6 bike racks. The rest are going to Kohler Fields and Ruzicka.
I just wanted to suggest, if I may, are there security cameras at the train station?
I don't know.
Well, just bikes are highly pilferable. I just always wondered if they could shift, if there are cameras in existence at the train station, if they could shift to cover the bike area, that would be a nice touch, if someone did have a bike stolen that was parked there or some type of activity there. But I was just curious if we know if there's any security cameras in that area at all, because bikes are always stolen, unfortunately, so.
All right, well, thank you very much. Bicycle project updates. So we have a memo from Tyler as well on the pending bicycle projects. Looks like things are coming along fairly well. Are there any questions or concerns from the committee?
What is the South Bartlett Trail? What's that project all about? Capital project on page 2 of that memo?
So that's the trail on South Bartlett Road, north of the library.
By the farm?
By the horse farm. So looking at improving that, they just put up a new sign late last year for it.
Oh, okay.
So that feeds into O'Brien Woods?
Yeah.
Okay, and connects with the library over there. Yeah.
Now, are these all the projects that would be, I guess, funded with the annual budget that the Village of Bartlett has?
So it's part of our capital improvement project budget. So
Okay.
it's it's a 5-year plan that we update every year. It's included in there.
Gotcha, okay.
Hey, Council on Government updates.
At the November 16th, 2021 Northwest Municipal Conference Bike and Pedestrian Committee meeting, they had Jessica Hying present on the Evanston Shared Street Pilot Program. The program was intended to create streets that could safely be shared by pedestrians and cyclists and drivers by placing barricades indicating that the street was intended for local use only. Based on surveys throughout the course of that program, the program did not create a significant increase in walking or biking on the barricaded street, nor did the barricades deter traffic or slow traffic. And a survey to the public showed that while the barricades were unpopular, a majority of residents still would like to see some more protected bike lanes, which I thought was good feedback to hear, possibly for any projects that we had in the future.
Any questions from the committee? Okay. Well, thank you very much, sir.
We do have, are you ready to hear from our consultants on the bike and pedestrian plan update?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Let's see. Alex, are you going to be sharing your screen or?
Yeah, I will. I see it looks like, oh yeah, if you could just give me that.
I'm going to make you host.
Great.
Please give that back to me when you're done.
Will do. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Good to see lots and be with you here. Let me see. Can you all see my screen now? Great.
Yes. Can you minimize the panelists? It's not on mine. Is it on yours?
Let me try again.
Okay, no, you were good. It was on our end.
Oh, okay. All right. Go ahead, Christy. Are you good on your end?
We can see your screen.
All right, great. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for letting us come and give an update on how things are going with the bicycle and pedestrian plan so far. I think we've been really progressing right on schedule as we hope to, and have been getting lots of good feedback from the public and getting into the exciting phases of starting to develop preliminary recommendations. So wanted to take the opportunity to go through some of those and just give a little bit of an overall update and answer any questions or hear any feedback from you all. Just to give a little reminder and overview of what our goals and objectives are for the plan. We're focused on first evaluating the existing and planned bicycle and pedestrian facilities in both Bartlett and Streamwood, getting a sense of how everything's functioning today and what's already in the pipeline so that we can build upon that to create a more connected network in the future, which is really our second main goal of taking the existing trails and paths and being able to build over the years here a truly connected network that's easy for residents to get to key destinations safely and conveniently by bike. And then also we are focused as well on looking at key pedestrian improvements and different strategies and tools to increase pedestrian safety, comfort, and convenience throughout the villages. So we've kind of divided the project into three major phases. So first, we really focus on getting to know the communities, both through a variety of engagement activities and hearing directly from residents and stakeholders, but then also analyzing a lot of data to understand the conditions on the ground today. Then we are now working on thinking more towards a vision for the future and preliminary recommendations. And later we'll be moving into the plan development and approval. So our overall schedule, we started back in the spring and summer. We're focused on getting to know the communities and now are getting towards the end of this second phase here where we're towards the future. And then we'll be transitioning at the end of winter, beginning of spring here, into starting to put everything we've heard, all the content we've had and ideas we've gathered together into a very compelling and actionable plan that you all can then take and implement here over the years. So community engagement has been a big focus of ours. I've seen and talked to many of you at our other public meetings and hope you all know that we have the project website set up which is a great repository for just information on the project in general, as well as we have a number of activities up there right now, surveys and maps, where people can provide input on our solutions and ideas as they stand today. And also folks can look at project documents. So there's the existing conditions report we published in the summer up there as well. So great place for residents to stay in touch and keep tabs on how the plan is progressing, and can always give us feedback there. So whenever we're coming to you with questions, ideas about walking and biking, please direct them to the website so that we can keep them engaged throughout the process. I'll just quickly run the highlights of what we've learned from the community so far through the various activities we've completed. So over the summer, we had a community travel survey, which we got great response to, and got a real sense of how people are traveling today and ideas about what would make walking and biking better for people in the future. So more paths and trails, more cross sidewalks, better connections to existing paths. All of these things there is broad support for from a really robust group of respondents. We also had over the summer a preliminary map just to get feedback on want to ride more, places where people experience challenges, which has been a key input for us as we start to flesh out what a connected bike network could look like. And in the fall here, and what we thought over the summer was the importance of walking and biking to school and making improvements to enable children and young adults in Bartlett to be bike. So we made a big effort this fall to engage with students more. So we have been working with District U46. We met with the principal student advisory councils for both Bartlett and Streamwood high schools and set up specific activities on the website for students and families. I've gotten great response to those as well. So we've learned about how students are getting to school today. You can see 5% of people report walking and biking right now, but or more importantly, even how we can make improvements that will really directly speak to students and enable them to be more likely to walk and bike. And then up on the website, we have a number of activities. So one is an interactive map on our proposed preliminary bike network. So these observations and ideas, what we found through data analysis and feedback, sketching out what a connected bike network could look like. So we've gotten some good feedback and are making adjustments based on that feedback. We also on sidewalks, as part of the existing conditions, we identified sidewalk gaps throughout both Bartlett and Streamwood. And so have been asked about how we should prioritize addressing those. So where is it the most important to fill in these gaps to create a network? So people are indicating the importance of schools, not surprisingly, along major streets, having connected and safe sidewalks, and around transit. And then we've also been gathering feedback on different types of infrastructure, both in terms of at intersections and on different types of streets. So on neighborhood streets, on collector streets that might have a moderate volume and speed, all the way up to major streets that have a lot of cars and higher speeds, and trying to use this feedback to get a sense of what types of facilities and improvements will be needed depending on the characteristics of a street. So this is going to be really important feedback for us next phase as we take the preliminary work and start fleshing that out into what, that line on the map actually means in terms of what type of facility we think would be the best to go there and what type of additional improvements at intersections are needed to make that comfortable and safe for people of all ages and abilities. And we also on the website just have a space for people to share more general ideas where we've been tracking the types of things we hear and really incorporating this into the planning process. So we've had calls for more bike parking, particularly at retail destinations, for community education around safe cycling, but also driving, walking behavior for everyone. And a number of specific locations and ideas for improvements that it's all going into how we're developing the plan's recommendations. So towards the end of the summer, we completed the existing conditions report, which is really cataloging how things look on the ground today and what the issues and opportunities we found were. So on the website, there's both a PDF version, also a more kind of interactive web-friendly version that you can click through and scroll through, and is a fun way to view it and interact with the material. But I wanted to just highlight two issues and opportunities that we identified. So really coming out of the data analysis and preliminary and community engagement early on, focused on the issues, all of which have a related opportunity as well. So those were particularly along major streets that biking and walking can feel uncomfortable and unsafe. And we found analyzing crash data that people walking and biking are more likely to be seriously injured in traffic crashes. And so the opportunity there is that really prioritizing safety for the most vulnerable road users, people walking and bikes, will help to create a safer environment for everyone in Bartlett and Streamwood. We also know there are places that people would like to walk or bike to, but aren't able to today due to lack of connections and gaps in both the sidewalk and bike network. So that really is our focus in developing the bike network now. Also, we've heard a lot and borne out in the data about dangerous driving behaviors. So things like speeding that add to the sense of discomfort that people feel when they're walking and biking, or just walking and biking. And then specifically, as I mentioned, we've heard a lot about children and students walking and biking to school as a key need. So this is a map of the preliminary bike network, which is also up on the website. And the blue lines here are proposed routes. For the most part, they might overlap in some small parts with existing routes as well. And then the green lines are existing routes. So you can see we are proposing or looking at a number of new routes and connections. Some of the ones I just wanted to quickly point out and highlight, we have a complete path along Stearns Road, heading west out to James Page Phillips State Park as a key route, adding a path on Munger as well, so connecting down to the project that the Forest Preserve District was speaking about, so having that be a continuous route feeding all the way up into Streamwood and connecting with them. Completing or carrying, I guess, the South Bartlett Road trail further north up through downtown, and actually continuing all the way to be able to connect into Streamwood as well. And then we are also looking into continuing the Bartlett Trail directly along the utility right-of-way there to connect further west to Brewster Creek Business Park and out to James Pateville again as well. And then there also are a number of neighborhood bike paths that we're proposing. So typically, slightly shorter connections on local roads, but that would be complemented with signage, with traffic calming to make those really high quality facilities for people biking, walking, and people of all ages. So I will maybe just pause for a second on this slide and see if there are any questions here or feedback before I move on.
Hey, Alex, it's kind of difficult to see in this presentation. Is it possible afterwards for you to forward this to the committee just for our time to digest it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know it's hard to look at a slide and be able to
Great, thank you.
offer all your thoughts. So I'll share this with Christy and she can send it around to everyone.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Alex,
Yes.
that's a pretty thorough presentation. There's a lot going on there. Appreciate your preparation, which is always outstanding, but it's a lot of stuff. And, I, as a member of the committee, I always feel like I'm sidetracked on issues that I think are important. And I don't really feel like maybe I'm off track, but you mentioned safety on the trails as part of your work, developing a plan for encouraging safety for people. Honestly, on some of these spurs and paths, you're in the boonies out there by yourself on a bicycle, or if you're walking or running. If there's some standard endorsements for how people should utilize these paths and these like for example, always be accompanied. If you can, run with someone else or ride with someone else. I don't know if there's a list of standard recommendations. You wear a helmet. That's what you do. You wear a helmet. Those kind of things. There's a bunch of them in your vehicle. And discourage riding at night. Night's always trouble. Things like that. And also, are horses allowed on all these trails? These crushed gravel trails? Is that a standard endorsement, or you just know you can't stop them?
Yeah, I couldn't give an answer off the top of my head. But yeah, in terms of education, I think that, and I'll touch on that a little bit, is going to be another key component of this. So building the trails, connecting the network is a huge part of this, but also giving people the tools and really empowering them to be able to make use of all these investments as well, and doing so safely and more often and frequently. All right. And then so in addition to the bike network, we've also been looking at pedestrian focus areas. So these are really the areas with the highest levels of pedestrian activity today, or we think that have a lot of potential for more walking in the future with some improvement and investment. And so for these areas, we're going to be developing, more specific location-specific infrastructure recommendations, as well as potentially policy recommendations. So there may be some things that are different in these areas than in other areas. That might be speed limit or other things as well. So really in Bartlett, we have the downtown area as one of the major pedestrian focus areas, not surprisingly. And then these other ones are really based on some key community destinations. So either there's a lot of retail or commercial uses, or a combination of schools and parks are really what's driving these. And then so with these types of plan, we often focus a lot on the infrastructure side, and that is really important and a huge component of it. But we are also thinking about other, non-physical items that really are important for encouraging and empowering people to be able to walk and bike more. So these span really from policy recommendations. So this could be, updating subdivision ordinances to change certain standards or guidelines within those, adding a bike parking ordinance, things of that nature. Education, I've already talked about, that's a really key piece, and we're looking at different programs to focus on students and children and young adults, but also adults and all road users. And then programming, thinking about regular recurring safe routes to school programs or similar programs. Maintenance, we know, is something we've heard about from the public and from the community. So looking at both procedures and how that's done and how inspection schedules are handled, all of the details there, as well as different events. So community bike rides, walking events that get people more interested and familiar with walking and biking options in the village. And then reporting and coordination, we're also focusing on. So being transparent about investments and progress that's being made, and also working regularly with all of the partners that are critical for getting this stuff done. So surrounding villages and municipalities, as well as forest preserves and departments of transportation, and all of those entities having a well-oiled machine to take advantage of every opportunity there is to get these improvements made as cost effectively and quickly as possible. So what we'll be doing next, we are giving updates to the village board in the next month or so to let them know how the project is progressing. We'll also be developing a memo here in the short term that summarizes all of the key recommendations before we go into creating the more formal plan document. And then in the spring, doing another round of community engagement, both online and in person, hopefully as well. And then really starting to put together the plan document and getting everyone's feedback and help refining it as we get ready to hopefully approve it next summer. So I don't want to take up too much of everyone's time, but happy to answer any other questions. I'll send this around to everyone, and feel free to reach out to me as well. I'm happy to talk with folks about anything or answer any other questions offline as well.
Alex, just a quick question. Out of curiosity, the response rate for a village of almost 42,000, was it similar in amount to other similar size populations?
Yeah, I think we've seen good response rates. We had, for the community travel survey, I'm forgetting the exact number, but we were pleased with it and felt it was in line with what you would see for other villages or municipalities around the region. We have been tracking too the demographics of respondents as well. We ask optional questions about that and are making efforts to try and diversify some of the who we're hearing from as well. So we've been working to address that as well.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are there any other questions from the committee? Mr. Hanson, that was fantastic. I am excited to see those slides, and I want to make sure that you can come speak to the village board. I think you're going to get a lot of really interested trustees, and we're excited to see how this turns out. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah, my pleasure. We're having a lot of fun working on it and think we're heading in a great direction. And also that the timing we have here is also really fortuitous in terms of funding opportunities that are coming online here soon, hopefully. So yeah, we're more good news to come, hopefully.
You know, what's interesting to me is that what we're seeing in your results so far are basically what we know. You know, so we know that we need to make these connections. We know that this is important, and it's validating, you know. And I look forward to your expertise helping us with the funding part, because I think that seems to be the intergovernmental cooperation and funding seem to be the biggest challenges to getting this stuff done.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel or come up with all kinds of crazy ideas. I think we've heard from everyone's expertise and have a really good sense of what needs to be done. So we're going to be really focusing on our effort on how to equip you all in the village and do it.
Well, thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, it's great seeing everyone. Hope you have a good rest of the day and see you all soon.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so before adjournment for our next meeting on March the 25th, I wanted to let you know two things. First and foremost, I had a request from the village trustees to give a report to the village board on what we've been doing. So I'm taking notes and I'll do that. So there's definitely interest there, and I know that that's important to everybody. And then you know, since it's January now, it's almost strategic planning session time. So I think it'd be very helpful, and I'd ask each one of you to send me an email. It doesn't have to be a lot of detail or lengthy or in any way. And I'd ask you to each kind of come up with your own ideas. But maybe your top 1, 2, or 3 projects or things you'd like to see the village put on, you know, the plan to get done. You know, we've talked about the capital improvements program. That's a 5-year plan, and that's generally projects that are very, very specific, and we have a cost breakdown, and we have engineering generally or preliminary engineering, and we know what it's going to take to get it done. But at the strategic planning session, you know, these are the big ideas. And I'd like to kind of discern what the committee's sense is on these top couple of projects. If you could just do one, if you could just do 2, you know, and then I'll push those for the strategic plan. Because I think, you know, the improving the bike path system is already part of the strategic plan. But I think if we make it a little bit more specific, we've got a greater chance of moving forward with those items. So I'd appreciate that, and yeah, don't copy everybody else, because then that's an open meetings thing. So just to me, and I'll take care of the rest from there. And I appreciate your time, and I appreciate your effort on everything.
Hey, Aaron, when you get to the board at a village meeting, and I'm just going to throw this out there, would it make sense to have maybe a few of us in attendance who maybe aren't already there, just to kind of show some support that, hey, these are the folks that are doing it? And
yeah, so generally we have a few people every now and then from the various committees that do come to the village board. I don't know if I'd bore you or not. I don't know. I mean, you're always welcome to attend.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess I've got, you know, time constraints typically, but if I knew that, you know, a certain day you were going to be presenting this, you know, I would really like to be in attendance, and just to, you know, 1, hear it, and then 2, also to show the board that, hey, members of the bicycle committee are here. I don't know. Sometimes just, you know, putting names and faces together helps too, right?
Okay, so let me talk to the mayor about agendas and whatnot, and when we think we can get on the agenda.
Okay.
You know, I know that there's a number of projects coming up, and I don't think you want to get caught up in the middle of the grasslands. Probably not a great time to show up. But we will. I will get back to you about when a good time for that would be.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And same with Alex's presentation. When Alex is going to the village board, if you know, I know that the agendas are public. Hence, I get that. Sometimes I might not see them all, but that's going to be coming up. We could just be notified, I guess.
You know, you kind of broke up, and the audio is kind of rough. What was the?
Oh, I'm just saying the same comment with when Alex does his presentation to the village board.
Yeah, makes sense.
Be notified ahead of time on that one as well, too.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah, we should know that by next Tuesday,
Okay.
what agenda they're on, for sure.
Oh, perfect.
Hey, Aaron, is it possible whatever feedback you get from this recent request that you put out to the committee to send out, all that you get to the group, sort of stimulate our little beans on what the group is thinking? Would that be a work overload type thing? I'd like to see what everybody else is thinking about. I think we all leave the meeting.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'll put something together and I'll distribute that to you folks. And then I'll pitch what we need to pitch at the strategic planning session. And then if I hear something, if I get some input, I'll let you know how that goes as well. I don't know when the strategic planning session is scheduled yet. I know COVID plays a role in that and everybody's schedule. So I don't have that date as I sit here. Hopefully it'll be soon. Hopefully it won't be May. Typically it's, February or March. So we'll see where that ends up this year. But I wanted to be ready, and I didn't want to get the date and, have it be before March the 25th and not have the opportunity to get your comments. So you have some time, but I wanted to pitch that to you guys before too long.
That's a great idea. It's an excellent idea.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, unless there's something else.
One item. I filled out that survey for the Route 20 and Shales Parkway. Website was kind of glitchy, State of Illinois website. Long story short is, when will we start seeing kind of input and plans on that? Specifically, there's no way to get pedestrian or bicycle access east-west there anywhere. You'd have to go up to Irving Park, which would require going down to 59 and doubling back up, or you would need to go to West Bartlett Road or cut through the industrial park. There's no way short of walking on the roadway or riding on the roadway, and I wouldn't recommend anybody do that.
Right. IDOT has had plans for years that have shown pedestrian improvements along Lake Street. So for example, in Elgin, where the car wash is being built, they're making them put in sidewalk. It's IDOT. Their plans change. They don't necessarily let us know. We're hoping to get plans later this year, but there's nothing specific.
Okay,
they haven't committed to a time frame.
Whenever it happens, can we get a gander at it, even if it's just an email or something, please? Thank you.
Makes sense. Anything else?
I want to say, to tack on to what Christy was saying, I want to say there's a published corridor plan for Route 20 somewhere. I've seen it. It's been a while, but I want to say that's already been, it might be out there. Have you seen that, Christy, or do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, there's a plan, and it shows people having to cross Lake Street about 4 times. It's an interesting plan. They have it on the bike path on the north side, then it's on the south side. They've changed it. They allowed the car wash to put in a sidewalk as opposed to a bike path that the corridor called for. So it's not consistent. It hasn't been followed. So we reminded them as the village comment, this is what your existing plan shows.
Yeah.
We outlined what it was. We had concerns. Like one of the examples was if there's going to be a crossing at Lambert Lane, because there's the sidewalk now on the north side, that they need to put in a pedestrian signal so that it would connect to the bike path that stops, I believe, about 500 feet short of Lake Street. It just kind of dead ends in what's technically Elgin there. So we're trying to encourage them to look at making connections and improve safety, but IDOT has not necessarily followed their plans.
That's frustrating.
Very frustrating. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
right, so we have a
Second.
motion. We have a motion and a second. Devin, would you please call the roll?
Gary Kroll,
Yes.
Bruce Hendrick,
Yes.
Dan Palmer,
Yes.
John Gates,
Yes.
and Aaron Ranky.
Yes. And we are adjourned.
All right.
Thank you, gentlemen. We'll see you in March.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
I know.